What is going on, Blenders? It's Sean, and I am speaking to you because we have another one of our bonus episodes lined up for you. Now, we're so happy that everybody has been wanting to join our show while they're locked up in quarantine, but still have movies to promote. So with that in mind, we had Alicia Silverstone come by and join the ReelBlend podcast, and we broke it out to this bonus episode because we cover a lot of ground. First off, she's in a new movie coming out called Bad Therapy, which you can get on VOD right now. So we all watched it and then talked to her about her process with that film. But then this year being the 25th anniversary of Clueless, of course, we had to dive into that film and her work on it with Amy Heckerling. We also got into some of the superhero genre talk because obviously she was Batgirl way back in the day for Joel Schumacher. And then she walked us through not just some early points of her career, but a lot of stuff that she's done outside the film industry too. So I think you guys are going to like this one. Dive into our conversation with Alicia Silverstone, part of the ReelBlend podcast on behalf of the film Bad Therapy. So the movie is going to streaming and it's going to be available to audiences on April 17th. Right now, though, as we've been talking about this on the podcast, we're all kind of missing out on the theatrical experience. And I'm curious what scene from Bad Therapy that you really wish you could witness the full audience react to.
I don't know. I mean, it's going to be good. I mean, I don't know. It's hard to say. It's not like it's an action film where you need to, it's a character-driven dark comedy, and you're gonna have. It's such a fun ride, and it's really funny. All movies want to be viewed on the big screen. It's so lovely to see it that way. But I do think that it's going to be just fine. Maybe when I pull the knife on my husband.
Yeah, I got a little Fatal Attraction vibe from that. I gasped personally. I gasped. Yes, I gasped.
You did. You got frightened. Okay.
Sometimes I've done some interviews with actors and directors who have made movies based on true stories, and I've been told multiple times that sometimes they've had to scale back like the true story just because it gets so wildly crazy, unbelievable that they're afraid that audiences won't believe it. So I'm curious, this is already such a crazy true story, but were there any elements that you guys maybe had to pull back a little bit just because you went like, this is too crazy and people aren't going to believe this?
Well, I don't actually know the details of what is actually true in this and isn't. What my understanding is Nancy, the director, Bill, his wife, Nancy, wrote this script. So she had written the book prior. And I don't know I wondered if she embellished it. I can't imagine that she pulled a knife on him, but maybe she did. I can't imagine that that it got that bad, but maybe it did. I don't know. I'd have to ask her. You'd have to ask her what is true and what isn't. But maybe it's worse.
It might be. It might be.
One thing I love about this film and the idea is I kept thinking to myself, because I see a therapist once a week just for anxiety and things like that. And I think... and
because you're a healthy human.
That's exactly what I was going to ask you about, because I've been in therapy since I was 14. I've had anxiety since all my life. But the thing about this movie, though, is it makes you wonder, what if my therapist is actually conspiring against me somehow? And and I already have anxiety, so I'm like, wait, what if that's really going on? Poor Kev. But
sounds like the mind of someone with anxiety.
Exactly. But joking aside, though, I think therapy and mental health are two very important things. I think people should never be ashamed to talk about going to therapy, talking about doing those things. This is, I know that's a movie and it's obviously based on real life events, but can you talk about just the idea of just therapy and mental health in general and kind of normalizing it and taking that stigma away? And even if my wife and I, we've gone to therapy before. I mean, people go to therapy and it's nothing to be ashamed about,
I think that two things. One, I think that we should be very suspicious of any human that does not want to go to therapy to grow. I think that if the ones who say, I'm not going to go, like somebody asks them, somebody says, hey, I think it would be good if we went to therapy together. And the guy in my case says, no, I don't want to go. This is a concern. Like, you don't want to have the best possible life. You don't want to feel your best. You don't want tools to make life easier. What's wrong with you? You are so messed up that you don't want to have a better life. So I'm very suspicious of anyone who is not interested in self-development, self-growth. And I'm very interested and excited for those who feel they need who don't actually need any, and they're functioning well, adjusted humans. That's wonderful. But I think that anyone can benefit from it. And I'm just worried about the ones who won't go. But that said, it's picking the right person. And I think we need to audition your therapists. If you're looking for a therapist, bad therapy is a good example of why you should audition your therapist before you commit. Obviously it's heightened and funny and crazy what happens to them. But, I think that in a more subtle way, you could spend 10 years spinning your wheels, really learning absolutely nothing. I have known people who have been in therapy for 20 years and they seem exactly the same as they did when they were 19. And you're like, okay, well, that's not really working, is it?
Yeah.
So I think it's finding the person that's going to challenge you and that really everything they say resonates with you and they really like zap into your heart when they speak. And you're like, yes, you should walk out of there not going, I think that helped. You should know that was incredible. So in bad therapy, what I think is so funny is that this woman who's very normal and has a relationship with her husband who she loves so much, goes to therapy. They didn't necessarily have any big problems. They had something they wanted to work out, and they go down the rabbit hole of trusting someone that, probably they just didn't know enough about, didn't research enough. And the next thing you know, she's trying to ruin their lives. So that's fun.
And I think Rob's line where he essentially admits like, well, I'm here because she kind of dragged me, is one that far too many people would just associate with but once he's finally honest with himself, he learns that he's there to grow and change also.
Yeah. It's okay to be resistant. He still went.
Still went.
He still went.
It's fine to be like, I don't want to, I'm scared or whatever, but I'm going to.
My reaction to this movie was very strange from this reason. It made me, and probably because we're in this isolation system and not able to travel, I missed Los Angeles watching this movie. Just road shots, neighborhood shots, scenes of you guys on the beach. It made me feel like it was intentional that you guys made the city a character. And in particular, the outside shot of the strip mall where the office is. I have rode past that plaza so many times and seen the Hawaiian barbecue sign and have wanted to stop and go into the Hawaiian barbecue and try it. No, for real?
It's probably going to make you sick.
Yeah, I know.
Full protein, not good.
But when you're in an Uber and you drive past it because you just left LAX, you're just like, oh, that looks really appealing to me. Was it intentional for you guys to make LA its own character in the film, or did I read too much into it because I'm stuck at home?
Again, these are director and writer questions because I'm assuming it was, that's where they lived. I'm assuming it was a big part of their experience, and maybe also that they just thought it would look really like you said, for the people the thing about a movie that takes place in LA is only the people who really live there or have spent a great amount of time that can really appreciate it, right? But yeah, it is definitely an LA movie. All of the scenes and all of the settings are really LA. But I don't know. I'm assuming it must have been intentional because it's what they did.
Yeah.
And they did it well.
Very good point.
Yeah. We're going to shift gears just for a second. And we're not going to harbor on this for too long, but we did want to touch on Clueless just because it's the 25th anniversary this year. But, there are so often times that an actor that has a big iconic piece of work over the years learns to not want to talk about it. Like most famously, William Shatner for years didn't want anyone to ever ask him about Star Trek. He was tired of talking about it and sick of talking about it. Over the course of 25 years, was there ever a time where like you were kind of over talking about Clueless, where you kind of just wanted to distance yourself from it?
No, I think that, I completely understand both sides of that. I can understand feeling like if you're so proud of the thing you just made, then I can understand you, like musicians, you're at a concert. You're like, can you just, I don't want to hear you play anything but what I remember.
Give me Freebird.
That's what I'm here for. Play me that.
Yeah.
Musicians like, F off. I'm here to play what I want to play. And I'm going to make you listen to what I want you to listen to. Right. And so I understand from both sides. And And I also just really love Clueless. I mean, I think that I'm grateful for being a part of something that touched so many people and made so many people so happy. And, Amy Heckerling, there's so many parts of it that are outside of me. Emma, the book Emma, written by Jane Austen, is a very good book. And she's a really good writer. And Amy Heckerling, who, wrote Fast Times at Ridgemont High, she ain't too shabby either. She knows what she's doing. So I feel like, just happy to be a part of something that it really resonated with so many people, made them so happy. But I don't remember a time where I was like, I do remember when I was in the Aerosmith videos and people would call me the Aerosmith chick. And I was like 17 and I was very offended because I was like, I'm a very serious actress. How could you, the Aerosmith chick? That was really, and now I think it's hilarious. But at the time, I just, I was like, I'm so rude. But it's funny.
Yeah, I'm going to show you something only because I've been collecting movie tickets since I was a kid, and I actually still have my Clueless ticket from 1995.
$4? That's
$4. And it still looks pretty good. The ink on that thing is still pretty good.
Saved every movie you've gone to see?
From 95 until I became a professional film critic journalist that I'm doing now. But I always did that. And I've always had that one particular. I was at Regal Cinemas in Newport News, Virginia. But I guess my question to you specifically was, on Clueless specifically, is what if social media was a part of that story? And I've said that story took place, in the moment it came out in the 90s. But could you envision how differently the characters would have played with social media? I know it might be a writer question, but just as somebody who played the character that you did, could you imagine social media being thrown into that world?
Oh my God. Well, I think that in the beginning, the phone would just be, it would just be like this the entire time. Those girls that are doing selfies and whatever their face, I don't know, little
selfie.
video.
Yeah.
TikTok. We're learning about TikToks now.
Probably TikTok, I guess. Yeah.
Oh my God. Honestly, I'm envisioning what that high school setting would have been with people on their phones and Instagram and Facebook. The story could have been it might have even gone differently.
Yeah. Who knows?
Kevin, I have a teenager. They wouldn't have left their bed. And they'd be on their phone the entire time. You have to actually shoo them out of bed. I'm just curious, when you look back at that time, what's more prominent to you when you think about that time period? Was it the making of the movie, or was it the time after it was released and the impact that it had on your lives? It kind of, catapulted you guys to instant stardom and really affected everything. But when you look back on it, what are you more fond of?
Well, I am grateful that, of course, for what Clueless, like I said, how it touched people. But at the time I was so young and it really was overwhelming. It was overwhelming when I was in The Crush, and The Crush did, that movie was really.
I love The Crush. I remember seeing that when I remember that movie.
So that was first, and that was a lot. And then I did a bunch of movies, and there was the Aerosmith videos, and then did a bunch more movies. Like I did a movie with James Gandolfini in France called Le Nouveau Monde, and did all these really cool things. And Jeff Goldblum, I did a movie with called Hideaway, and I just did all these things leading up to then Clueless. And so at each turn, I was getting more and more well-known, and it was more and more uncomfortable. And when Clueless came out, it was so uncomfortable how, I was a teenager. I was 18, and it was just a lot. So I needed a good therapist, and I didn't have one.
Full circle. Here we go.
Oh boy. So I just got really into activism. And so I'm really grateful that I was so focused on, I ended up writing books about this, The Kind Diet, The Kind Mama. I went on to do all kinds of things with this, but I just got really focused. I went to Africa and was trying to help the elephants, doing this project that was 20 years ago now. And just really went to the Amazon River with Woody Harrelson and tried to, help save the rainforest. We just, I really got so into the world. And so in a way, I'm grateful for how much that overwhelmed me, that it allowed me to go into a world that I really cared about.
Sort of bringing it back to bad therapy. Whenever I see a movie that is based on a true story, and the story is just unbelievable. It always kind of makes me pause and go like, I don't think that there's anything that's happened in my life that would yield a movie like this, or a story justifiable of a movie. If someone were going to make a movie about your life, what is the moment or the story that would make for the best scene?
There are a lot.
We've got time.
Yeah, we got time.
I mean, I think that to say them wouldn't be funny because it would be tragic. So I would need to put it into the film to make it funny, and then you could appreciate it. But there were a lot of things with family, and just a lot with family that is so rich and would be a very dark comedy.
I really want to see this movie.
Is that something that you could do? Like, if you wanted to make a movie about a story that you're referring to, could you go to a family member and say, "Do you mind if I turn this into a movie?" Or would you not go down that path?
I don't know. I've never been motivated enough to do it. It's something that I think about and have thought about, but then I just get busy doing all these other things. Like, I'm really more, I'm the Kind Diet, the Kind Mama, my Kind website, my all these things that I put my energy to, they just sort of take precedence over these fun, crazy psycho stories that I think of. Mm-hmm. So one day, perhaps, if I ever find myself bored or motivated enough, but right now I just get more motivated about real life and trying to make change.
So my particular thing, I'm a massive fan of how movies are made, how anything is made, television, music videos. You mentioned the Aerosmith videos, and I was just always curious about filmmaking of music videos in the 90s and what it was like to shoot those. What was the band just constantly lip syncing? What was it like to be on a set of a video, Crying or Crazy? What do you remember about the filmmaking of it?
Well, I didn't actually shoot with the band at all.
Right.
So I was but what I do remember is we shot 23 hours in a row. That's illegal. We did that on The Crush too. I remember on The Crush, the last night we shot 23 hours because there was no turnaround to worry about. So they just got everything done.
Wow.
Yeah. So I remember that the most. And I remember Marty Callner's a dear friend of mine, and he was the director. Yeah. And he, he had it down to a science. He made those really, they looked beautiful and they were really well made. And, but I remember that the Crying video was the first video that sort of showed a woman being in a powerful position. All the videos prior to that were girls in bikinis and girls being sexual. And this was a woman in power who was like, oh, no, you don't. And he made it sort of like a movie, which I don't think hadn't really been happening prior to his, that's my understanding, to his video making. So it was just like stepping into a little mini movie.
So when did you eventually meet Aerosmith, though? If you didn't shoot with them, did you eventually ever connect with them?
I went with them at their concert after the video had come out and had already been #1 for a very long time. And then I went to see their concert and I met them backstage.
Hey, I'm the one in the music video.
Yeah, I hope you got great seats.
If you didn't have good seats, you might have been crying. Sorry. I'm sorry.
Stop it.
Thank you for laughing. Look, she's laughing. They make fun of me. They make fun of me for my bad puns.
Charity laughter, but it's loving with you. It's not. I see where I feel both at the same time.
Charity laughter.
I'm going to pivot slightly because it's so much fun to look over your filmography and especially your more recent choices. Because people don't realize, in 1 year, in 2017, you were in the Diary of a Wimpy Kid movie, and you were in Yorgos's film Killing of a Sacred Deer.
What a year!
1 year, and I know you can't often plan how things come out. You're just picking projects and choosing scripts. But another film that you did, The Lodge, was getting a ton of really great press, specifically for your performance in it. So I'm just curious now, what is driving your choices forward? Is it directors in particular? Is it just characters you're being offered that are totally different than things you've done in the past? You've had some really interesting choices lately.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. I'm just having fun. I'm picking things that inspire me, that excite me. And so in the case of Yorgos Lanthimos versus Diary of a Wimpy Kid, I remember that Yorgos Lanthimos,
one of the greatest filmmakers.
I mean, his movie Dogtooth I just think he's so brilliant.
The Lobster was amazing.
He's so talented. The Dogtooth really did something for me that oh my God. And so, of course I wanted to work with him. And of course I wanted to play this weird character. I mean, it was just everything about that was wonderful, and work with Colin Farrell and be in the movie with Nicole Kidman and blah, blah, blah. So that was so anyway, that one. And then so that's like, duh, of course I wanted to work on that. And then Dire Wimpy Kid the part was fun. It was this mom who was trying so hard to get her kids off of media and gaming and all that, and wanting to connect with her children. So it was just a fun part, and I had a really good time playing that part, even though the setting is entirely different and obviously a very different audience and all of that. It was a really fun acting part for me. So I'm just picking things that, and then I'm doing Babysitter's Club that comes out in May. And again, it was just a fun part that I could play with and be a part of. And what else happened? I love doing theater. So often I'll do theater, and that's, I did a play with David Mamet that was one of the greatest experiences of my life.
Oh my God. Glengarry.
And I did a play with, Laura Linney and Eric Bogosian. We played lovers and, or boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever. We were getting married, fiancés. And that was amazing. That was an incredible theater experience. So I just go wherever I'm going to be inspired and excited. And that's sort of what I do.
Well, to that point, thinking about how varied and long lasting your career has been, I'd imagine that, you have people coming up to you that want to talk to you about sort of different projects, whether it's, Clueless or Batman and Robin or the Diary Kid movies. Can you clock, like when you see a fan that's like coming over to talk to you, can you sort of know like what they want to talk about before they get to you? Or is it just sort of like, let's just see what happens?
I've never thought about it like that. Often there are the guessing games where someone will say, I love you. What were you in?
Do you ever mess with them?
Well, I'm not a fan. When they say, oh my God, I'm such a fan of yours. I've seen you in Clueless. I love it so much. That's an easy exchange. Mm-hmm. That's the majority.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But every once in a while you get someone who goes, oh my God, it's you. And then you go, oh, hi. And then they go, wait, no, it's not you. I'm me. And then like, you see Silverstone, and you go, yes. And then they go, no, you're not. And this game goes back and forth for a while, and then you get annoyed because you're like with your kid or you're like doing something in life, and this exchange is going a little long, and then it becomes, I don't know how to make this stop, because if I say yes, and so then how I mess with them is I'll start saying, no, I'm not. I'm sorry, I was just pretending. And they're like, what? Why are you going to play me like that? Wait, you are. And then they keep it going. It just keeps going and going. So you just have to be like, thank you so much. Bye.
Wow. That's awesome. You're a far more patient person than I am.
We'll end on this. I mean, obviously, Jake's talking about the career. You have such an amazing filmography. I want to see Yorgos do a Diary of a Wimpy Kid. That'd be amazing. Could you imagine that?
I really want to see that.
But obviously,
I don't know that he will.
I know.
But let him do his version.
We can dream. But you have worked with some incredible filmmakers. Obviously, Schumacher was on your Batman film, which was an incredible director as well. You worked in the superhero genre before it got to where it is now. The superhero genre it's like taking over cinema, the MCU, then DC Comics. Working in superhero movies then, did you have any idea we'd be where we are now? And was your superhero experience a fun one? Did you enjoy working in that type of playground?
I had no idea. I don't even know what it is now. I mean, I don't know how to answer that. I did not have any vision of what anything would be because I was 18. So I wasn't really thinking about anything in the future, right? It was just, this is what I'm doing. And I can't say that it was that much fun. I love George Clooney, and I had such a good experience with him. He was like so sweet to me and kind, and really protected me and took care, and lovely. But in general, and I loved Michael Goff, the man who played Alfred.
Yes.
He was a dream, and he and I had such a good relationship, and I care about him so much. But aside from that, it wasn't like the deepest acting experience of my career. It wasn't, it's more technical. It's really more, a lot of it is sort of look over there and throw something. And where am I looking? What am I looking at? And what am I throwing? And that's not really that inspiring. Do you know what I mean? Like I'm in bad therapy. I'm playing a woman who's unraveling because of a deep emotional conflict that's happening right in her life. And in Yorgos Lanthimos' movie, I'm a desperate woman who's so hanging on for dear life. And those are interesting, complicated things. In Batman and Robin, I don't remember feeling like that. It was just very technical. You have to put the suit on. The suit was like so uncomfortable. And I was young. I don't know. I wonder how I feel now. But at 18, putting that suit on and not knowing what the heck I was doing, it was just like, I can't say it was that fun. And it came in a time of my life where people were being very unkind. So I think it was just not the best experience, but it wasn't terrible. Luckily, I was fine, but it's, it's not up there with my David Mamet, my Kenneth Branagh. My Donald Margulies and Daniel Sullivan in the theater with Laura Linney. Like those are the experiences that just, Kenneth Branagh was a dream.
Yeah, it's amazing.
The Laura Linney and Donald Margulies and Daniel Sullivan, that play was a dream. David Mamet was a dream. Being in Clueless, we're working with Amy Heckerling, getting to just completely play and be that role. Those are even in The Crush, my first film, that was a dream. It was my first film. So it's just, there's different experiences you have. I would say Batman's more technical sort of filmmaking and less like artistic.
Sure.
But that may have been my state of mind at the time.
Yeah.
I'd like to get another try.
You can join Paul Rudd in the Ant-Man movies.
You start writing letters.
Done.
Kevin, let me call Kevin Feige real quick. Hold on.
We are thrilled that you are still getting to live your dreams and pursue roles like Bad Therapy, and we are so thankful for the time that you took here on ReelBlend. Alicia, thank you for joining us. We really appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
It was so nice talking to you all.
You too.
Thank you so much to Alicia Silverstone for joining the ReelBlend podcast for this long conversation that we had, this bonus episode. We are going to have a normal episode coming this week also, and we were able to get Joe Pantoliano to come on and talk about not just Bad Boys for Life, but his role in the previous two Bad Boys and a lot of stuff from his career, including an amazing story about the steak scene from the original Matrix. So make sure you check that out. And don't just stop there. Go through our entire back catalog. We have a ton of ReelBlend episodes that are waiting for you wherever you get your podcasts. So make sure that you catch up with our past episodes and look for new episodes every single week here on CinemaBlend.